Page 21 is eighth notes is the only thing. There's no title to this. It's just eighth notes. Okay, that's what they want to call it. Not much of a title, but okay. On page 20, they talk about the G position. And they show it there. Again, I don't like their picture because they got the wrist doing this. And you want your wrist to stay straight. And it's this G position, I think, because you can have a lot of G positions. It simply means in the five-finger position, G's the bottom note. I don't like the position names. C position, middle C position, G position, F, D position, whatever. I don't like it. I think it makes it a little more complicated, and it doesn't need to be that. All they're telling you is that your hand is here. That the music is telling you that. Whenever you look at the finger numbers at the beginning of the music and you figure out where, that's telling you where to put the hand. In this piece, we're in G position. We happen to be here. But other than that, I wouldn't worry about G position. Your fingers are here, they're on these keys. You got to remember which key, which finger is on. Takes time, you'll get there. And that's the important thing, because your fingers could be on any position. We've already done some moving around. We're going to do a lot more. So just don't worry about what position it is. Just know which keys your fingers are on. That's what counts. Let's look at page 21 on eighth notes. An eighth note is a new kind of note for us. We haven't had that before. So far, we've had a whole note. You divide it in half, you get half notes. You divide a half note in half, you get quarter notes. Well, if you divide a quarter note in half, you get eighth notes. So you just keep, and we could keep dividing now. An eighth note, they show them at the top. One eighth note, it looks like a quarter note, but it's got a little flag hanging on it. That's one eighth note. When they put more than one eighth note together, they will beam them together with a beam going across. And however many eighth notes they beam together, it's up to the music and the editor and publisher and all that. A lot of times they will beam them according to the beat or according to the feel. It makes it easier to read them rather than individual eighth notes with flags all over. So you can have two of them beamed together like they show at the top, because in 3/4 time, 2 eighth notes is a quarter note, so that's one beat. So 2 eighth notes is one beat. So they beam them together to represent one beat. Or you could beam 4 of them together like they're doing here. I don't know that I like that. I think I would prefer beamed one beat at a time. Nevertheless, just know that all 4 of those notes are eighth notes, and it's the same as 2 beats. Counting them, there's different ways of counting them. People use different, teachers teach different. They use a 1, 2, 3, ma, ma, ma. I don't. I put an and in between each number because the number represents the beat, or the quarter note in this case. If a quarter note gets a beat, then it represents a quarter note. And the eighth note is the and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and whatever the thing is. So I use and for the counting. You can use whatever counting you choose. Your teacher will have their counting. It doesn't matter as long as you understand there's 2 eighth notes to a quarter note. So let's look this over. It's 4 lines long. Treble and bass clef. You need to be doing the C major scale, 1 octave up and down. I have a video on it. Links are there. Okay. You've heard that. Oh, okay. 3/4 time signatures, so 3 counts in a measure, and we're counting quarter notes. Here, I look it over and I see eighth notes, quarter notes, and dotted half notes. Well, we've had all those before. The eighth notes are new, but okay. I want to take it one hand at a time, make sure I got the fingering and the rhythm worked out. Right hand comes in on the second measure here. They have an error in the music as far as I'm concerned, because if you look at the first measure in the upper staff, it's empty. You can't do that. 3/4 time signature, we need something to account for 3 counts. You could put in 3/4 notes, or 3/4 rests, excuse me. 3/4 rests, that would account for the 3 counts. That would do it fine. Or, hang on, you could put in a whole rest. And you think, wait, back up. A whole rest is the same as a whole note. That gets 4 counts. What are you talking about? Well, a whole rest gets double duty. It can represent the same as a whole note as far as counting goes. Or it can represent a whole measure. regardless of how many beats are in the measure. So if they want to represent a whole measure that's resting, they just put in a quarter rest and be done with it. And that's really what they need to do here, is just put in a quarter rest on these empty measures throughout this whole piece. So they're accounting for all the beats in both steps. Doesn't affect how we play it. I'm just trying to get you to understand the written music and the theory a little bit. So let's go back to the right hand now. We're here. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. Now, I'm lazy. I only do the 1 and 2 and when I need it. I don't do it all the time. So it's like the second line. Second measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3. See, I don't do the ands in there because I don't need them. Third line, it's 1 and 2 and 3, and then you rest, and then 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. So you go through the right hand, okay. Then do the same with the left. You're starting here in this position, 1 and 2 and 3, and then you get to rest for a measure. And third measure, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3. And so you go through and get the left hand, and then we go back through and try and get both hands to work together. Well, the first two measures isn't bad. It's just one hand at a time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and now you're together. These, and here. Hold the left hand down now, and then go on. These and these. So I'm using different fingers now in the hands, so you can work that out. And then once you have the hands sort of working together, then you go back over the touchy spots and get rid of the hesitation so it's a steady beat. Nice and slow is fine, but steady. And then we can think about the articulation, which they don't give us any articulation. Well, you can put in the phrasing. If you can figure out what the melody is, I don't know. See, in my mind, you could take this either as each line is a phrase, or 2 lines as a phrase. So there's different ways of interpreting it. If I take it as each line is a phrase, then at the end of the first line, I'm going to lift up before I play that. So there's a little silence there. I won't connect them. Like that. That's connecting them. So if I want it to be a phrase, I'm going to lift up. Now if I want the first 2 lines to be a phrase, I'm going to connect them. So I won't lift up until the end of the second line. Then I'll lift up. So you decide on the phrasing on how you want to phrase it. I think I'm going to go ahead and go with each line as a phrase. I'm going to lift up at the end of each line. It's like taking a breath. You're just cutting the last note in the line a little bit short so you can lift up. Not real short, just a little bit short. Then I think about the dynamics, which they don't give us any. So I guess here you just kind of play it. Now to me, the right hand, when they're playing together, the right hand has the melody. To me, it does. It just sounds like the right hand is the melody. So in that case, I'm going to play the right hand a little louder than the left because I want to bring out the melody. I want to hear the melody. So in the first line, I can do it here. But here, I'm going to do that. And here, I'm going to play saw. So that's, I'm going to bring out the melody. Then the speed, allegretto. Well, that's the between, again, moderato and allegro. But it's the overall feel of the piece. How do you, these eighth notes have to be even and controlled. I don't know. How fast can you play those even and controlled? They're going to slow you down a little bit. But you don't want to go too slow, because then the quarter notes are too slow. That's not allegretto. So you got to speed it up a little bit, but not too fast, because you got to have the eighth notes controlled. You decide. The quarter notes, they didn't give you any slurs here, but I'd still connect them. It's your choice. You could disconnect them if you wanted to, because they didn't tell you anything. I don't know. different ways of interpreting it. Different ways of playing it. Don't copy me, please. You get into the music and you feel it and you do it. Let's play it together very slowly and check the notes and the rhythms. I'm going to play both hands about the same. I don't do any dynamics or anything like that. There isn't any in here, but I'm not going to bring out the melody. I'm going to play both hands about the same. So I'll give us 3 counts, and then let's try it together very slowly. 1, ready, and go, and 1, and 2. 1, 2, and 3, and. 1, 2, 3.